Hello, y'all. It's been 2 weeks. What's up, guys? It's been 2 weeks. I've been missing in action. Sorry about that. I think the first week I was stuck traveling through Barbados, not Barbados, British Virgin Islands. And then last week, your girl was just tired. I'm going to keep it 100% with y'all. I was just tired. Look, you can see my bowl of popcorn left over from my snack earlier. Okay, so if you don't know me, my name is Libria Jones. I am the remote work queen, and every Tuesday I come on here and I share. I answer your questions because a lot of people inbox me, a lot of people send me DMs on Instagram, and it's just really tough for me to keep up with that stuff. It really is. It's just me, guys. I got a full-time job. I got a kid. Like, it's really tough for me to answer those DMs. So this format made it a lot easier for me to be able to provide people with information and to answer folks' questions. So I try to do this once a week. I may be moving this to once a month, possibly coming here soon, because I will be launching something else that takes it further to help people and to give people information about how they can land remote work so they can do great work from anywhere. Before we get started, hopefully you already have my free guide with my favorite places to work. Hopefully you already have that. If you don't, it's fine. I'm going to put a link to it in the description so that you can download it. Here's the thing. If you download it, please use it. You got to use it. It's not going to do you any good sitting on your computer desktop. So download it, use it. It's basically a quick list of my, hey, Alicia, how you doing? It's basically a quick list of my favorite places to find remote work. And then if you need more help, right? If the list of places to find remote work is not enough and you need more help, you need more information, you feel like you need more guidance, I do have something called a Remote Ready Bundle. It's a mini course with 17 videos. And these videos are pretty short. When I say 17 videos, it sounds like a lot, but some of these videos are like 2 minutes, 1 minute and a half. I tried to make it really easy for you to get through it in a weekend. I don't want you to have to spend a bunch of time going through this course. You could get through it truly in a day, in a weekend. You could get through it this weekend. So I'll post a link to that as well. If you don't already have the bundle. Dee has the bundle. Dee Lewis said it's an excellent resource. I'm going to just say I agree. If I do say so myself. I actually went back through the bundle this morning because someone sent me a message and was like, I'm only on the search engine and it's the best $47 I've spent. And I'm like, well, that is the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. And she's only on video like 3 of 17. And she's saying it's the best $47 she's ever spent. So, all right, the Remote Ready Bundle. The goal of that is to teach you some things that you didn't already know. The goal of it is to empower you and make you feel a lot more confident in your search and give you a lot of tricks that you can do, tips and tricks that you can do to stand out when you're applying for jobs. And again, you could legit get through it in one day. And it's $47. I will post a link to it. So let me get to these questions that people have asked on Instagram. And then my friends that are here with me today, I will get to your questions as well. So feel free to drop them as we go. And then I'll just go back through the comments and answer them. All right. I'm glad you caught me live too, Jackie. Hey. All right. Let me start with someone asked Lake Jade 1. And so also, just so we know, the questions that I'm answering are the questions that people dropped on my Instagram earlier. And so your usernames won't always translate, right? Your username on Instagram might be different than your username on YouTube. So if I call you, just raise your hand and say that's my question, all right? So I can talk directly to you. Hey, Emerald. Okay, Lake Jade 1 said she got accepted into Tulsa Remote. Welcome, congratulations. Can't wait to have you here. Would love to ask about your experience. So if you don't already know, I got accepted into a program called Tulsa Remote. Basically, they pay people who work remotely. Let me say it differently. People who work remotely get incentivized to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma for 1 year, and they get paid $10,000. If you buy a house, you get that $10,000 up front, which is what I did. If you choose to rent a house, they pay you in installments, monthly installments. And they've accepted over 1,000 people into the program at this point. So her question was about my experience. My experience is great. I'm going to say a few things. Tulsa is a very small town. I won't say very small town. Tulsa is somewhere in between a small town and a big city. It reminds me of my hometown, Tallahassee, where it's neither a small town, neither a big city. I will say it's very middle America, very, very much middle America here. Um, in that, uh, I mean, it's slow, it's chill, there's plenty to do. The city's growing a lot because so many people have moved here. So there's plenty to do. And the cool thing is the Tulsa remote community is always doing something. Someone is always doing something in the Tulsa remote community. Either Tulsa Remote itself, the program, is hosting a happy hour or an event. We have special seats. We have like a special area at the stadium. So for soccer matches and baseball games, we have like a special area. Tulsa Remote itself is always doing something. We also get free access to a co-working space, and the co-working space hosts events all the time too. And then there's all these subgroups within Tulsa Remote. So there's groups of people who are families, who have small kids. There's a group of people who have pets, who like to run, who like to do this. And then there's Black in Tulsa Remote. So there's a Black in Tulsa Remote community, and we're always doing something. We legit, these people be in these streets at least every other night. Either they're going out to eat, they're going to happy hour, they're going to brunch. I hosted a brunch at my place for my birthday last month. And then Saturday, one of the Tulsa Remote people hit me up and was like, what you cooking for breakfast? And I ended up hosting an impromptu brunch last Sunday. So plenty to do. And my general feeling is I can live anywhere for a year, right? Like you don't have to be here every single day. I'm still traveling. Actually, I'm gonna be gone for the next 2 weeks. So I think the people here are very nice. I've had a good time. It's going to be what you make of it. It's kind of like anywhere. It's just going to be what you make of it. But it's a year and they pay you $10,000. I can live anywhere for a year. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have something more specific, feel free to ask that. This question is very long. Miss Bella. Ooh, girl. Please help. 5 exclamation points. So this is urgent, apparently. At the moment, I'm unemployed. That makes it urgent for sure. And I'm having difficulty trying to get some of these jobs because I don't have enough experience. I don't understand what's going on. The interviews are really good and the energy feels good, but it just doesn't happen. I think I asked her what her background was. She said that her background is in medical. She's been a receptionist and she's worked in security and she wants to work in the medical field. I applied for basic medical receptionist. Okay. All right. So I always say to people, if you are getting to a certain point in the process and you're having trouble getting past that point, it's time to assess that point in the process, right? So if you are getting to the interviews and the interviews aren't happening, it may be time to tag in an interview coach. Right? It may be time to assess whether or not you're actually interviewing well. Maybe even ask a friend to interview you and give you some feedback. There are people who do interview coaching. Own the Interview did a mock interview with me in the Remote Ready Bundle. Her name is Jenna Mulharian, and she actually does interview coaching if you'd like to sign up for that. Or if you just want to go to the Remote Ready Bundle, go to that section of the Remote Ready Bundle and just kind of take notes and read through that. The other thing I'd say is I feel like a lot of people extrapolate a small number of experiences to be a lot. So I'd actually challenge to say, how many interviews have you actually done? I had this very conversation with someone recently who said she's stuck. And I asked her how many jobs she applied for and how many interviews she'd been on. She said she applied for 10 jobs and got 3 interviews. I was like, you're actually doing quite well. You've got a 30% success rate right now. You're doing very, very well. The market is saturated with people looking for jobs, especially remote jobs, and you made it to, out of those 10, you made it to 3 interviews. And to put this in perspective for you, most, on average, a job posting gets 350 submissions, applications. That's on average. In this market, it's closer to 500 to 1,000. So out of those applicants, an interviewer will select about 6 people to interview, right? So what I'm hearing is that this person on 3 occasions waded through 500, 300, 500, 1,000 applicants, and you got picked 3 times. You are doing something right, right? So a lot of times you may feel stuck, but in the grand scheme of things, you're actually doing well. So the person that said this, she only described 1 interview to me. So I don't know if that's happening multiple times. I don't know how many interviews you've had, but I'm going to tell you, if it's only been 2 or 3 interviews, you're not stuck. This is the process. On average, it takes 90 days to find and land a job. On average, don't be out here being like on day 89, Libria said I'm gonna get a job tomorrow. That's that's not what I'm saying. On average, it takes about 3 months to find and land a job, right? And so you've got to understand that it could happen faster, it could take longer. So you just got to kind of be in this for the long haul. I feel like I've said this every single day. I've been doing one-on-ones for the last 2 weeks. I think I only have a few slots left open. And every one-on-one, I say, if you're looking for a job, that is now your part-time job. Your part-time job is now looking for a job. Job searching is basically a sales role, right? You've got to do some prospecting, which means you got to go and find the jobs. You've got to do some pitching, which means you've got to apply for those jobs. It's work. And I say, carve out. I feel like my dog is going through the garbage. Tonka, stop it. You've got to carve out some time. Let's say, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, 3 days a week for 30 minutes. I'm going to look for and apply for jobs. And I think that's minimum, right? I don't want you to, spend all your time doing this, but at the very least, carve out some time and say at 6 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to look for jobs. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm going to look for and apply for jobs. And then set a quota for yourself and say, I'm going to do no less than 5 jobs every time I sit down. I'm going to apply for at least 5 jobs. All right. I get the feeling that she is feeling frustrated, but I'm willing to bet if I got the numbers, she's actually probably not applied for a lot and not had that many interviews. Because again, like I said, the person that I spoke with before felt like she had been doing a lot and had a lot of interviews. She only had 3. It can be frustrating. It can be exhausting. It can be disheartening, right? It absolutely can be. Searching for jobs sucks. Like, it's just not a fun process at all. I will not pretend like it is. But you are going to have to employ some endurance for this to get what it is you want. And I think it's worth it. I personally think it's worth it. But in your case, ma'am, what I would suggest that you do, Miss Bella Marie, what I would suggest that you do is hopefully you're looking in the right places. The Remote Ready Bundle has places that you can go to. If you're looking for positions in the medical field, there's a category specific to medical, right? If you've got the Remote Ready Bundle, there's a list of 75 places to find remote work. But as far as customer service in the medical field goes, I would direct you to companies like Anthem, CVS, United Healthcare, Aetna, Humana. They all hire remotely for customer service positions. So check those companies out, but also get someone to give you an interview and give you feedback. Even if it's just a friend, my recommendation is that you, if you can swing it, right? I know that you did mention that you're unemployed. So you've got to be judicious about how you spend your money. But if you choose to, Jenna Moharan is a great resource. She has owned the interview. I will post a link in the description. And she does interview coaching, because that might be the part of the process where you need to make some tweaks and some changes if that's the part of the process you're getting stuck in. I feel like I took a long time to answer that. Hopefully that answer is helpful for you. All right, I'm going to go to the next question that I see on here, which is Casey loves creatives. Can you recommend remote job sites for event managers? Oh gosh, I've been talking all day. Remote job sites for event managers. Yeah, sure. Event managers, it's going to be a little bit tough, right? Because people are starting to move out of virtual events and moving to in-person events. So I actually had a one-to-one earlier this week with someone who's in event management. And we did some searches for remote event manager jobs. She wants to get out of the role, but we did do a search for event management jobs. And there are some out there, but a lot of them are still going to want you to go on site to some of those events. So I just say, if you haven't done this already, which I'm willing to bet you have not, and when I tell you, you're going to be like, oh, duh, just do a Google search for remote event manager jobs and see what pops up. Like, start there. There are some out there. I'm going to say, if you want it to be 100% remote, there's probably not going to be a lot of those, right? Because when they want you to manage an event, normally they want you to be there to set up, to make sure that things are running smoothly. I'd say maybe last year there was probably more opportunities for remote event managers because so many events were happening online. But what I will tell you is if you don't mind traveling, if you don't mind it being almost partially remote, then do that. Do a general Google search for event manager remote jobs and see what pops up and start applying there. The other thing I would suggest that you do is maybe consider moving into project management because event management is very much project management. Replace the word event with project. It's the same thing, right? You are managing something, a project from end to end, from beginning to end, right? You've started that, you've got a budget, you've got a schedule, you've got deadlines, you've got milestones, you've got all these pieces that have to come together. It is very, very, very much like project management. So, and project management is a lot easier to transition into remote, to work remotely. So I'd say start to maybe consider, think about it. If you want to major, if you want to start, I said major in. If you want to start working in project management, start tweaking your resume to speak more towards that versus event management. The other thing that you could consider doing if you truly want to stay in event management is start your own event management consulting company. You can start your own company. There is a company who does virtual events. She helps produce virtual events. The company's name is GSD Solutions. And so she basically hires people. She basically has a team that does all of the back end stuff when people host virtual events. They set up the platform, they train the speakers, they train the volunteers, they make sure that they're running tech support during the event. So that's something that you could consider doing as well if you want to remain in events management and remain remote. Again, that company's name is GSD Solutions. They actually produced the Quick Commuting Conference, and they were excellent. So you may want to look at that, maybe see if you could work with her for a little while, or maybe start doing something similar. So good luck to you. Casey loves creatives. Next person up is J Squared. She said, I'm starting a new job soon that's 100% remote, at least for the foreseeable future. Congratulations. Her question is, what time management tools, resources have you found most useful as a project manager? And what tips do you find most effective for managing teams remotely across different time zones? Those are some big questions. I don't even know if I have time to answer that in detail. So I'm going to say software tools to use as a project management manager. It depends on the project, right? So I've been in the game for a long time. So I've seen so many tools pop up between the traditional Microsoft project all the way to Asana, Airtable, Monday, the new tools. It really is going to depend on the project and how you like to work. My guess is that the company that you're going to start, that you're starting with, you're starting soon, they already have tools that they use. So this isn't something that you probably need to figure out. They probably already have tools that they're using, that they've been using. But feel free to, as you're getting ready to start preparing to start your new journey, look at some of these tools. Go, and most of them are free. Asana is free. Smartsheets is free. Asana, Smartsheets, Trello, Monday, Airtable, they're all free to try out, right? So set up an account, try them out, or go to YouTube and watch videos on video demos on some of those platforms and see what you like to use. Personally, it really depends on the type of project. For example, I do software implementations. For me, for those types of projects, traditional Microsoft project or Smartsheets is better. Just because those are easier to manage that way. For the Quick Commuting Conference, we used Asana. When I put together the trip around the world for a year, I took a group of people around the world for a year. When I was building that business, I used Trello. Right now, I'm getting ready to launch the Quick Commuting Academy. I am using Airtable. So all of these tools have different nuances. They've got different features, different limitations. So it truly depends on the project, and it truly depends on you and how you like to work. So what I would recommend that you do is start to learn some of these tools, right? YouTube is free, honey. YouTube University is free. Go, search for some of these tool names and just watch some demos and see how those tools work. But I will tell you that they probably already have what they're going to use to manage their projects. And then the second part of your questions, tips most effective for managing teams remotely across different time zones. So me as a project manager, I'm pretty protective of my teams. And so one thing, and one of the reasons why I feel like my teams enjoy working with me is because I'm very protective of them, their time, and I look out for my teams. So we've got clients in different time zones, and I've got people in different time zones. And I try to, at the beginning of a project, go ahead and get clear on what our working hours are going to be. So let's make sure, like for instance, part of my team was in Atlanta, part of my team was in Arizona, and the client was in Seattle. So we would have times where it's like we block these hours, we don't meet outside of these hours because these are the hours that are optimal for the entire team. That's one thing that I do. The second thing that I would say do is start to lean in, and a lot of companies are not taking advantage of this the right way. Lean into asynchronous communication. And what does that mean? What that means is sending video messages to people, short video messages to people to disseminate the information you would disseminate in a meeting, but allowing them the opportunity to ingest that information at a time that's best for them. Right. So if I need to give an update to my team or I need to let my team know something, I may record or walk them through something on a project plan or a document or something. I may record a quick video and send that to them and ask them to give me feedback when they have the opportunity. And that way we don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about taking up their time at a time that's inconvenient for them. I don't have to worry about messing up the time zone. They can receive that information when it's best for them to receive it and then respond in kind. A lot of remote first companies are big on asynchronous communication. So that's a couple of tips I can give you. I think that's it. That's it for the questions on here. Let me get to y'all's questions. Hey, how y'all doing? Okay, let me see. Somebody said, is there a place you recommend writers to go look for remote work? Queen, it depends on what kind of writer you're talking about. So are you talking about a creative writer, a copywriter? What kind of writer are we referring to? Break that down for me. And while you do that, I'm going to go to Lisa Grace Brown's question. My sister does not have a degree. Will she still qualify for remote jobs? Yeah, of course. Sure. Why not? Why not? There are entry-level remote jobs. There are remote jobs that don't require any education and any degrees. I actually have a blog post about remote jobs with no skills, and I have another one for people who are recent graduates from college. And those are there's a lot of entry level stuff in there. I know you said does not have a degree, and then I said recent graduates from college, but it still applies. Like the resources that I put in there still apply. Customer service is an easy one. Usually doesn't require a degree. Customer service, customer support, data entry type jobs. There are some websites. So one of the websites that's in the Remote Ready bundle and in the free guide is remote.co. If you go to remote.co and scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, there's a tab that says entry level remote jobs. So go there. Yeah, go there. There's plenty. Writing, blogging, editing, books, things like that, social media posts. Got it. Okay, creative writing. So yes, remote.co, there is a section. I wish I could share my screen on here. I don't think I can. But if you go to remote.co, they have a category for writers. It says online writing jobs. So that's one place you can go. The second thing is, I don't know if I'm going to say it again. I don't know if you've ever just done a Google search for remote writing positions, but that's an option too. A lot of companies are looking for content writers and copywriters. So for instance, like Automatic is a remote first company. They're work from anywhere type of people, and they own WordPress, and they're usually looking for writers. They're usually looking for content writers. I'd say do a search for content writer and remote in Google. That might give you some stuff. And then if you're looking for freelance blogging positions, same thing, do that search, freelance blogging positions and remote. But I'll tell you, the one that comes to mind is travel related. So like the Points guy is always looking for writers. Nomadic Matt, I think recently was looking for writers. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there for that. Social media, a lot of the a lot of companies out there are looking for social media managers and content writers as well. So really, it's just a matter of using the resources that have been provided and doing a Google search, right? A lot of times you guys can answer the question with an easy Google search. Like I would put in there remote content creator, remote content writer, remote blogger in Google and see what pops up. Okay. I know. She said, so you said I've never actually searched. A lot of times, I'm going to tell you, don't even feel bad about it. A lot of times people assume it's not there, so they don't search for it. Right? They're like, they probably don't have any remote jobs, or they're probably hidden somewhere in the back of the internet. So they don't even just think to do that Google search. But I'm going to tell you, if it comes to mind, just do a Google search and see what pops up, right? And then you can start to get deeper and deeper into what you're searching for. Also, no degree does not equate to no skills or education. Have they worked? Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate you saying that. Girl, you just won. I wish I could bring you on live. TaMara or TaMara. She just said no degree does not mean no skills or education. Have they worked? Do a search for the current position and add remote. Yes, girl, yes. This is my assistant for today, TaMara. Everybody say thank you to TaMara. You can also search for your experience, search for your previous titles, pull something out that you specialized in and that you did at your last job, and search for that thing, right? So let's say that you did data quality, search for data quality and remote, right? So, make sure that you're using your experience. Not having a degree does not mean anything. I'm the first person in my family with a degree. My mother does not have one, and she's the president of the bank right now. So not having a degree ain't it. So yeah, do that. Do those searches, and yeah. So look for your skills, look for your education as a Google search, and just make sure that when you're updating your resume and updating your LinkedIn, you are leaning really into that experience. And a lot of these job postings will say they want a degree or relevant experience, right? And sometimes people stop at that degree and they say, oh, well, I don't have a degree, they don't want me. Don't stop there. They said or. There was an or there, right? And you don't always have to meet all of the requirements either for a position. As long as you meet at least 50% of the requirements, apply for the job, guys. Let them tell you you're not qualified. Your job is not to decide whether or not you're qualified. It's theirs. It's their job posting, right? They're supposed to decide if you're qualified or not. All right. Retire airlines career. I don't know what you mean by that, because that could be a lot of things, right? Retired pilot, retired flight attendant, retired customer service at airlines. You got to give me more than that. Grabbing the remote ready bundle. Would love to do remote year next year and need the perfect position. Good for you. That's awesome. Congratulations. I know a lot of people that did remote year. I actually started my program because I wanted to do remote year, but they didn't accept people with children at the time. So I started my Wander year. Google is your friend. Google is your friend. Google is really nice. Google's a nice guy, man. Just ask it a question and it'll answer it. And you might surprise yourself for sure. Should I start small with freelance or wait until I have taken time off work before I start applying? I don't know why you would need to wait for anything. What you tell me, why would you need to wait? I don't know what the parameters of that question are. What are you waiting for specifically? Wait until I've taken time off work. Yeah, I don't know why you would need to wait. I would need to know why you asked that question to answer it. Because I can't think of a reason why you would need to wait to apply for jobs. Yep, some will allow you to pursue the degree while working in that position. That is correct. Like Target has some remote positions. I don't know if you guys know this, but Target has some remote positions and they pay for you to go to school. Thanks for calling that out. Street smarts have more value than book smarts. I love that. Let's see. When I check off most of the requirements, I hit apply and then let them tell me no. You are thinking about it the right way, LaTanya. I swear, I've given this analogy like 50 times this week. When you go to buy a house, you have this list of things that you want in a house, right? You have this list like, I wanted to have, picture windows, blah, 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 all these things. The house you ultimately buy does not meet all your requirements. Very rarely does the house that you buy meet all of your requirements. It may meet your most important requirements. So thing one, the house that you end up buying is going to meet your most important requirements, the ones that are more important to you. This is the same thing with these job postings. They list these requirements, and a lot of times it's a template, let's be clear. But they're going to pick someone that meets the most important requirements. The second thing about this house buying analogy is a lot of times you end up getting a house that has things and features that you didn't even think that you wanted. They weren't even on your list. And so for each of you, you have some value and some assets that may not have shown up in those requirements, right? And so when the hiring manager is looking at it, they're saying, oh, well, this person doesn't meet these requirements, but they have this going for themselves. We didn't think about this. This would be great for this position for these reasons. So, don't let the requirements or the qualifications be the thing that sends you off, right? No one's going to meet all the requirements, and you are going to have some stuff that they didn't even realize that they needed and wanted in a hire. I've hired, I can't even tell you how many project managers, and I don't think any of them met all of my requirements. I don't think any of them met all of my requirements, but they all had something else to give. Okay. Let's see. Let's discuss slinging old resumes, professional resume update versus doing it yourself. Great question. So I'd say if I'm always going to be a proponent of you updating your resume yourself, if you feel confident enough to do that. And what Lisa means by slinging stale resumes is I talk about when you build a template resume and then you use that same resume to apply for every job. That's called a stale resume. I always say you've got to tweak your resume for the position you're applying for. The reason is they put keywords in that job posting. And when you submit your resume, it goes into a database, right? And then the hiring manager is not reading every resume. They used to do that way back in the day before, technology. They're not reading every resume. They're going into that database and they're typing in the keywords and seeing what pops out, just like you're doing on Google, right? The thing is they're not sitting at their desk thinking, I wonder what TaMara put in her resume. No, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about what did we put in this job posting. So they're going to search for the keywords that are in the job posting to determine if, to look at the resumes and determine who to bring in for an interview. Here's the thing. If you don't tweak your resume to include those keywords, you literally may as well drive to their office and put your resume in their trash can because they're not going to see it. It's a waste of your time, right? So we're not going to sling stale resumes. We're going to look at the job posting and see what keywords they've called out that are most important and make sure that as long as they're true, they show up in our resume. So your question about whether or not you should do it yourself versus get someone professional to do it, I'm going to say that depends on how comfortable you feel and how confident you feel about your resume skills. You may decide from jump, I'm just going to get somebody else to do this for me, and then I'll tweak it, right, as I apply for different jobs. You may decide that, and that's perfectly fine. You could use the resume workbook in the Remote Ready bundle and say, I'm just going to do it myself, right? Or you can say, you know what, I think it's worth it, and it's a better use of my time to hire somebody to write my resume, and I just tweak it. But I will say this, if you find yourself applying for jobs on a regular basis and tweaking it and doing all that, and you're not getting anywhere, that might be the time to say, let me tag in a professional. Because like I said earlier, if you're going through the process and you find yourself getting stuck at a point in the process, it's time to assess the process, right? It's time to assess what could you change and tweak in that part of the process, right? So if I am applying for jobs and I'm not getting anywhere, here's the point in the process where I say, oh, there must be something going on with how I'm applying, right? So let me get a professional to look at my resume. So that's what I'd say. Yeah, you got to decide what's your priority, queen. I think you're going to make the right decision. I think you got to trust yourself, and you'll make the right decision. TaMara said, I don't know if it's TaMara or TaMara, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. She said, I do not have a degree. It's never stopped me. I'm living in my 4th state now and looking for remote work because my current organization doesn't have an agreement with the state I moved to. I love you for that. That's right. That's right. And I actually have talked to a few companies that are moving away from the education requirement. Even the chief technology officer at my company said he was moving away. He was thinking about moving away from the education requirement as well. for a couple of reasons, because experience is a big deal. And also there's so many ways to learn how to do things these days. Like you can learn almost anything on YouTube, Udemy, Coursera, or whatever. And so companies are starting to move away from that. It's a slow move, but some companies are starting to move away from that as well. Okay, I think we are at 35 minutes. I said I was going to stay for 30 minutes. This was a fun conversation, and yep, get certified. Getting certified is another option as well. If you don't have the education, you know what? I'm going to dial it back and start and just point out that there's a number of ways to approach jobs, any job, and we're not just talking about remote jobs. If you don't have formal education, right? You can lean on your experience. You can also start to look at the types of jobs that you want and say, I'm going to pick 3 dream jobs. I'm going to pick 3 jobs that I absolutely love in this field, and list out what you're seeing across those jobs. What are the roles and responsibilities? What are the skills and qualifications that they're looking for, right? So list that out across those 3 jobs, right? And then your next step is to say, of these roles, responsibilities, and qualifications, what do I already have in my experience and in my toolkit? The cool thing is that is, one, going to help guide you for how you update your LinkedIn and your resume. Thing 2, it's going to remind you that you already have value, right? You already have valuable skills and experience in your toolkit. The next thing that you'll do is highlight what you're missing. What am I missing in these profiles for these 3 jobs that I would love to have? And then you can start making a plan to get there. That doesn't mean that you can't apply for the jobs until you do, but that just means that you can make a plan to get there. And how do you plan to get there? You can get there via certifications. You can also take advantage of your current role, possibly take advantage of your current role and say, let me volunteer for some opportunities on projects or with different managers to do some of these things that I don't already have in my toolkit as well. So you guys, you can take the initiative to say, let me build a strategic plan for how to get to where I want to be. And there's so many ways to do that now that don't involve a 4-year university and student loan debt. Okay. So good luck to you all. It was so great to hang out with you. It's been too long. 2 weeks is too long, man. 2 weeks is too long. I've got some links that I'll post in the description box for some of the things that I talked about. Oh, and I do want to give you guys a quick announcement before I go. Power to Fly is having a virtual job fair tomorrow and Thursday. Let me go to their website. I'm going to drop it in the description box as well. Let me see if I can drop it in the comments also. But I'm going to tell you who's going to be there. I'm looking at my computer. This is the Power to Fly virtual job fair. And Smartsheet is going to be there. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 companies that are hiring remotely at this job fair, including American Express. And if you know my story, if you know my origin story, American Express was my first full-time remote job. I worked there as a customer service rep. I was in their first class of at-home customer service reps. Excellent job. So American Express is going to be there. United Health Group is going to be there as well. Someone mentioned medical earlier, working in the medical field. Go to the job fair, register for the job fair, meet the recruiters at United Health. And what I encourage you guys to do when you go to these things, don't just sit in the background and watch, right? Ask questions, type in the comments, make sure they see your name so that when you go to apply or when you go to network with them, which you will do, right? Your next step after the job fair is to connect with these recruiters on LinkedIn. But once you reach out to them and once you reach out to them and once you apply, your name can start to look familiar. So don't go to the job fair and just sit back there. I want you to go to the job fair and ask questions. All right. Okay. That's it for real this time. I will see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out.